recently, a local chef won an award for an ugly chowder he came up with, a dish created to highlight the issue of microplastic pollution in oceans. Joining me now in studio is Will Lew, the executive chef at Club Versante in Richmond. Hello, Will.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. Where did you get the idea for this ugly chowder?
We see the world so beautifully, but at the same time, when we really take a deeper look, when we walk down the beach, anything, you start seeing like plastic everywhere. You start seeing detritus everywhere, and this whole chowder competition is all about celebrating sustainability. But at the same time, I want to just do something where we're reminding each other of the daily things that we use. If it's microplastics, if it's single-use plastic bags, if it's even our clothes that we're washing, that the little plastics go into the ocean after.
Right.
I think that's something that we're not talking about enough. And so to make a chowder that's ugly, to make a chowder soup that you don't really want to drink, but is still delicious, it was something that I don't think has been done yet, and that we should be doing to like sort of call each other out, but also bring more awareness to it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, when you, I've seen pictures of the chowder. So, tell us about it. It's got sort of all these little bits and pieces of shapes and colors. There's even little, looks like mini trash bags. So what were you trying to portray? I'll admit, it's not attractive. It does not look appealing.
I think I like to make beautiful food, but beautiful doesn't have to be visually beautiful. Beautiful has to be something to do with how you influence the mind. And so with this chowder, the quick cold notes version of it, because there was so many different layers like the ocean has, we did it where it was pelagic layers, like all the different levels of the ocean. And we did different densities of plastic and how big the plastics are, how deep down they sink. But also we did it to where it was on the surface. So we made plastic out of kelp. We made plastic that was all edible. And so that was a huge undertaking for us as culinarians to figure out how to make something so quote unquote ugly taste delicious, but not look that nice.
Well, I think you did a good job, but it's almost like it's like a map of the oceans, that you could eat. And we often hear, chefs say they want to tell a story with their meal, but it's usually something very good and very romantic. But what you're saying is the story you want to tell. It's not a pretty one.
It's romantic because we can do something about it. Right?
True.
It's romantic in that sense, but it wasn't meant to be shown as romanticism.
No, not at all. Why do you feel it's important to raise awareness for this issue of microplastic pollution?
Because I think when we think about sustainability, we think about, overfishing. We think about, all the whales that we need to protect. We're also thinking about how to pick and choose sustainably, right? Because we have so much greatness around us. But we're also thinking just about the biology of things. We're not thinking about the inedible things. We're not thinking about the human-made elements that are affecting what is beautiful about biology.
Right. Fair enough. You mentioned sustainability, and it continues to be a very important topic that people are thinking about. And as we navigate, I guess, climate change and questions about food supplies, do you think there's some aspects of sustainability that people aren't thinking about?
I think the bigger thing is getting people to think about it first and foremost. Because even as a chef, we talk about it all the time, but do we practice it all the time? And when it comes down to our communities in general, it's not just what is available to us, it's what we're demanding and what we're asking for. And I think if we can keep pushing that agenda forward, it'll help us be more aware that when we're making choices, we're making sustainable choices, even though it might not be the easiest thing. But we're lucky enough that we live in a first world country.
Well, that's just it. It is a lot easier for us to make those choices than it is for other people. But it's a choice that we constantly need to be making.
For sure.
What are some of the ways that you've, sort of implemented sustainable seafood and practices into your work as a chef?
I think one big thing is getting the support from Ocean Wise in general.
Okay.
Understanding and getting the information from them to know what is sustainable. Obviously, it changes all the time, right?
Well, that's part of the problem, I guess, too, is people aren't always sure what the big focus is, where we need to put our energy at the moment.
Certainly. And I think that's why we're in a great platform being chefs or being purveyors or being suppliers, because we should have those answers. And if we're not aware of those answers, then we should go out of our way just for a couple of minutes or for a whole day or for however long it takes to do research to understand what is part of our our craft and understand how we can portray that to the people who are giving us patronage.
How long did it take for you to sort of, I guess, come up with the idea of this ugly chowder? And then, to sort of, I'm just wondering, like, all the steps, like, it's incredibly, the thought behind it is incredible. And then the execution behind that thought is also a work of art. And as you said, it may not be a beautiful one, but it is incredibly meaningful. Like, how long did it take you and how did it come to be?
That's a great question because I love answering this. The big thing is, to create something in my mind and with the team collectively, it takes seconds. But to curate it could take months, could take years.
Yeah.
Like this thing took months to curate, but the idea was evident once we thought about it, right? Because it was the message that mattered the most. The food came just as importantly, but afterwards, because we can start picking and choosing what kind of elements we want to talk about. If it was the sablefish that was donated to us by Golden Eagle sablefish that we use as one of the layers within that pelagic zone, or if it's all the kelp that's grown along the Pacific Northwest coast sustainably and the next food source of this world, right? Like if we have those, we already have all the tools to make the right story. But to curate it takes forever.
A lot of hours in the kitchen, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Very many loving hours.
Many loving hours, I'm sure. Any chance that the ugly chowder will become a permanent part of the menu at Club Versante?
I hope it becomes a permanent part everywhere because everything about it was sustainable. But it's also one of those dishes that can showcase different uses of ingredients that are completely local to us that we can actually make something with.
And what's next?
An uglier chowder.
We were laughing earlier. I was like, what exactly would you consider a pretty chowder? But no, I think it's an incredible endeavor. And you, as you said, the thought could come quickly, but the execution is where it mattered. And it was incredible what you guys did. And that message is so important. So, thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Congratulations. And we'll see where you go next with your uglier chowder.
Thank you.
All right. Will Lew, executive chef at Club Versante in Richmond. He won an award for his ugly chowder, created to raise awareness about microplastic pollution in the world's oceans.